taking a second. Alrighty, everyone, we're live. Hey, everyone, my name is Nachum Russell, or Russ to most of you, because nobody besides Jeff can say Nachum. And for the two of you out there who don't know who Jeff Gellman is, this is Jeff Gellman. Jeff is the owner and head trainer of Solid Canine Training in Providence, Rhode Island. I'll let Jeff introduce himself. It's a lot better that way.
Yeah, I mean, technically I'm not really training dogs as much anymore unless there's some really difficult cases. We've got a great staff in Providence. So, we're based in Providence, Rhode Island. We do mostly board and trains. I also travel the world doing seminars. Obviously, the brakes have been put on over the last 6 months, but we do about 25 to 28 seminars a year, and those are all problem-solving seminars. So that's the great thing about these seminars. They're geared literally towards solving behavioral problems. I would say 80% owners are there, and then maybe there's some dog trainers there. And then at our dog training facility in Providence, we do, I would say, 90% board and train. And those are dogs with some pretty serious issues with a lot of human aggression, dog aggression. But we also get, we just had a happy-go-lucky, lab go home. It's like we get a little bit of that, but mostly people come to us for some pretty serious stuff. And we do obviously we do, basic obedience, but mostly we also have to work on massive leash reactivity, human aggression, dog aggression, separation anxiety. We do that. So that's pretty much what I do. And then I've got obviously my own social media presence and a podcast 3 times a week, Q&A podcast. And that's pretty much it.
Are you guys excited when you get one of those easy-go-lucky puppies? Are all the staff breathe a sigh of relief?
It's weird when you get one in. They're like, oh, we can actually touch you and not have to worry about getting bit, or we can not always be looking over our shoulder or looking down when you're walking next to us, or it's different. It's definitely different when you get a dog like that in. But they've got their own host of problems. Also, as when a dog comes in supposedly easy, you start asking it more things to do, and it's not the easy dog anymore.
Right.
Because it's just never been asked to do anything before. So, if the owners have been casual with it, everything from just leaving the crate door open and never enforcing that, it's oh, he has no separation anxiety. I'm well, you've never actually closed the crate door. So
they're really separate.
Yeah, it's actually, you don't know. We're we're having this huge, we've done a couple of videos on, on all your pandemic puppies, and we should be training our dogs post-COVID now because, pretty soon everyone's gone from the house and your dog's where'd everybody go? So, so it's always good to, even the easy dogs can be very challenging.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when there's a easy-go-lucky dog and all of a sudden pressure is applied onto that dog. It doesn't have to be anything extreme, right? It could be asking
simple.
For the first time.
It could be the simplest thing. It's just don't rush up the steps. Don't rush down the steps. Don't come rushing out of your crate, and the dog all of a sudden, it's you just took, it's like you took your cell phone away from your teenager for a week. It's just what? That's a little bit of a overreaction, to what just happened. But I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I feel in an interesting way, it's coming full circle because a lot of what I do and a lot of where I'm at now comes from you. Probably I can point back to a direct conversation with you, which is really sitting in Bear Burger in Long Island. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember. I love that freaking place.
Yes.
Did they end up staying in business? Are they back open for business?
They're back open. They were open just about all the way through. They were only doing drop-offs and pickups type of thing. They closed for a little bit when Long Island cut everyone down, but as soon as they could, they were back open for pickups, drop-offs. That's
a damn good restaurant. Loved it. I loved it there. Yeah, I think every time I came to town, we went there, didn't we?
Yeah, because you're you got to learn how to eat real food, and I'm let's go get a burger.
Yeah, I know. It's I think we went up for Thai food once, didn't we?
No, you wanted me to, and I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it. Didn't we go to some restaurant with your old boss to somewhere?
Yeah. We went somewhere else.
Japanese or Thai or Indian?
You guys went. I wasn't with you then. That was before I was
Got it.
That was your first time coming around. So the first time I met you was when you came out to Long Island, and you were doing I think it was just for a local rescue.
Right. Yep. I remember that. Yeah.
And I wasn't even training dogs then.
Yeah. Well, I'm super proud of you. You've really done you've done such a great job, Russ, with your just everything. You're killing it. You're really, really killing it.
I appreciate it. So I'm curious about something that I don't know, like necessarily for a lot of people who know about. So you're big and you have a massive presence and everyone knows who you are, and you obviously make yourself very well known. But I'm curious as to how you actually got into doing all this, because I know you've only been doing this for, I think, 15 years, 16 years?
It's only been about, I keep saying 15 years, but it's probably going on maybe 16 now. I started like a lot of trainers start, I think, is with a dog that they owned. I had a German Shepherd named Max. I got him as a puppy. I didn't know. I'm literally like like a typical client, right?
Yeah.
So, I got him from, some guy who had a couple of dogs chained up in that a litter of German Shepherds. And I was like, why a German Shepherd? It was sort of my first dog. I mean, my family had dogs, but they weren't really my dogs. And I got a German Shepherd, and he was just ended up being human and dog aggressive, and he bit me a lot and went after dogs, and he wouldn't listen, and I didn't know what to do. And I went through a bunch of trainers, and everybody said, put him down. And this is at 6 months old, it's like, put him down. I tried everything. Doing the work definitely wasn't lacking. You know what I mean? I was definitely putting in the work. And then I finally found somebody up in Boston who's no longer training dogs anymore. And I remember going up there for the first time, and he said to me, after seeing my dog being lunging at his face, it's like what we get now. And he's like, you can say no to your dog, Jeff. And I'm like, you can? I didn't know that. So I think once I started, he helped me with that dog. And then I would go up there an hour and a half away. I'd go up twice a week. I would drive there and drive back, an hour and a half each way, just to consume information. Obviously, my dog was in the class and stuff. And then one day, somebody saw me with Max, I think in a downstay while I was doing something in a public area, and they're like, oh, we have a German Shepherd and we've got problems, and can you help us? I'm like, sure, I can help you. And I didn't know what I was doing. And definitely, I've learned a lot over 15 years. And, I definitely took on dogs way above my pay grade starting out. And I think, I never have regrets about anything at all. I never have regrets. And I think we do everything for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And I think that's what helps me. I think now, we're getting more aggressive dogs in now, and nobody's getting bit because of skill set, safety protocols, and a fantastic team. Like you mentioned, I'm pretty much running the company, doing the tours, overseeing a fantastic group of trainers. And the staff, I think they're responsible for the results, obviously. I think that's what's really holding Solid Canine Training together, is the incredible staff.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome though, how you started, because I've not been doing this close to as long as most people who I get to talk to, which is really cool that I get to talk to a lot of people with a lot of experience. But what I've noticed in trainers is there's some trainers who get into it kind of just because they're just extremely passionate about dog behavior, kind of like dog geeks, right? They just geek out on behavior and they love it. And then there are some people who get into it because they had that problem dog. And I think that there's a really cool, I have my similar story. Obviously, most of us have a story like that.
Yep.
And I think there's a very cool difference in that the people who have their story, 99% of the time I find, come from a place of empathy with the clients in a different way.
The humans, correct.
Yeah, that's what I mean with the clients. I'm not talking dogs even right now.
Right, exactly.
Because we were that owner. We struggled, we cried, we had all of the hard stuff that everybody is now going through that we're working with, and it allows us to connect in a deeper way, I think, with the client itself, which is so important. It's all a human business at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think people have to, it's funny because when I make statements like I care way more about the human than the dog, that well, like a lot of things I say gets turned around. But I think it's like you can have both. Like you can care greatly about humans and still care about dogs. So if you care about humans, that doesn't mean you don't like dogs. Like you can have both. And I think, at the end of the day you always meet somebody that are like, I love dogs better than humans. I'm like, that's cool, but you might not want to own a dog training business. You might want to maybe work for a dog training business and maybe not have human interaction, but you still have to work with your fellow employees, but maybe not the general public. And you can still utilize your skill set and your love of dogs. But I think in order to own a dog training business, you need to be really human centric and I love, like, we all have an ego, and so my ego is not how well I'm doing with a dog. My ego is being able to is stroked through solving humans' problems, eliminating their pain, making their life better, expanding their world with their dog. Because just like and anybody out there that's struggling with their dog, like your world is really small.
Yeah.
Like you have to think about everything. Like, oh, we can't go out to eat at the cafe because there's going to be too many people and too distracting, or we can't go to the coffee shop because it's busy this time of day. It's like I don't want that. Even some of the most challenging dogs we work with, fine, throw a muzzle on the dog. It knows a good downstay. It won't break. You can bring it to the coffee shop, and you have good boundary issues by saying, no, you can't pet my dog. Like,
right.
Why can't, like, I want that for everybody. I want you to be able to take a road trip with your dog and not have some dog in the back of your car, like, going nuts every time you like stop to pump gas, So I think I've always come from a place of human empathy, and I've got a huge empathetic streak with humans, just like so big.
Yeah. I remember the first time so I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw you, I didn't even know who you were from online. I was a young kid working in this place, and I walked in and I was just like listening to you talk, and I was like, I don't like this guy.
Yeah, right? I get that a lot. I mean, I definitely get that you're a dick, Jeff, a lot. And
I was didn't really know much about dog training at all. I was struggling with my own dog, trying to figure things out at that point, and working in a facility, right? Just cleaning up, doing what I did there then. But then, like, afterwards, I was listening to some of the things you were saying, and it made a little sense, right? So I started to, like, try it out at home. And then another one's like, no, you should really look at his videos. So I started to watch. But I remember the first time I heard you actually say this whole thing that you're describing of how you love humans more than dogs, right? And that whole conversation, I was very confused by it, because I was in a world of, I work with dogs because I love dogs more than people. Right. And everyone where I worked and who I worked around, that was like the vibe.
Sure.
When I started to think about it, it made more and more sense, because I was like, I'm the one struggling with my dog. Like, yeah, my dog struggles, but he's fine if he keeps biting other dogs. Yeah. Like,
dogs
he's
have
not
a great
upset
time
about it. It doesn't bother him,
Right.
It's me who, like, I can't do anything with my dog. I'm the one struggling, and that was when it clicked, when it became personal, right? Yeah. And it's a very interesting perspective that I think it's so important to have, and it's so necessary. We're not just working with dogs, right? These dogs all belong to people who suffer and struggle.
They really, really do. And I think that's something you really need to hold on to. And I mean, people are always asking about, like, of course you have to always be working on your dog training skills. I mean, but in a way that's a given.
Yeah.
It should be a given. It should be a given. You work with dogs that if you don't have a lot of aggression experience, stay away from those dogs. You can still make a very, very good living and have a wonderful, support your family, support yourself without ever touching an aggressive dog. Yeah. But what you always really need to start is to always be working on is, number one, is personal growth for yourself, and your human skills. And I think if you really concentrate on that combination, you're going to do extremely well. Extremely well. And then understand that, in 2020, we've got to understand social media. Not that you need it, but it definitely helps you help more people. That's the way I look for it. I mean, I look at it this way, that the more people that I could, the bigger audience that I have, it's not because I monetize that audience, it's because I help that audience. And if you really truly care about people, like that should be a priority for you.
Yeah.
Be a priority for you.
I think it's a great part of it. Like, it's really cool. Again, my social media presence is just growing. I look at it.
Oh, Russ, you're killing it, my man. You're killing it.
But the cool thing about it, though, is what you're saying. Like, there are times when I'll put out, like, I put out content every single day, right? I haven't missed a day since I went to T3.
Good.
And the cool thing, though, about it is many times I don't know if anyone even gives a shit, right? I don't know if anyone watches. I don't know if anyone sees it. Sometimes a post will go up. There's nothing happening, right? But then I'll get a message from someone to be like, I've been following you for 6 months and you changed my dog. You changed my life, right? And things like that. And when I see those, that's why I continue doing it every day, even if I don't know if it's even doing anything, because it's those moments. And it's like, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And of course, it's also beneficial for business. I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Absolutely.
You know, and it makes you somebody credible, I think. But
well, I mean, it's a good way for people to get to know you before they meet you. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I mean, we're constantly putting out, you know, content. And I think if you put out content with no expectation of anything back, it can really help you with that process that you were struggling with. And if anybody struggles with, it's like, is anybody gonna like this? I'm like, well, if I make a video and if you don't like it, well, I didn't make it for you. You know, it's like, I'm not a big fan of science fiction. So I would hope that the person that made the science fiction movie really doesn't care what I think, because I'm not a big fan of it. So if you don't like my stuff or anybody's, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But you can't discount the fact from the person that writes me a letter from Czechoslovakia saying that I helped them keep their dog in the house and they didn't have to put their dog down. Like, you can't discount that fact that it helped them.
Right.
So my video mattered to them. And I think that's what really matters. And you don't know, though. That's the thing, is when you put out a piece of content, you don't know who it's going to help. You don't know who it's going to help. And just like you said, it's like you've all these people that are sitting on the sidelines, like putting the work in with their dog, and they may never tell you how helpful you were, or they might come back and say, you know what, it took me 2 years, but I finally got the dog I want, all thanks to your videos. I mean, it would be almost a disservice not to put out daily stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's so many people that do want it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing now is, like, there's, well, not a cool thing, but it is what it is. There's so many struggling owners that there's never going to be enough content. Like, we've got more struggling owners than ever before, because I think of the conflicting information that is out there now on social media, at the vet office, in the books, influence from friends and family and from other trainers. I think that owners are, there's a couple of different things I'm seeing. I'm seeing owners struggling more, but I'm also seeing owners better prepared. And the way I can gauge that is, we're in our 6th year of our seminar series. So I've done about 150 of them. And we're seeing owners now come into the seminars with better behaved dogs than they're still struggling, but they've got better behavior on so many different categories than we've ever seen before. And they got that way all from not just our free content, but from free content online. But do you think that represents the general public, or that represents the people who are geared towards coming towards your seminars?
I think you know what I mean? I think it's a different crowd, kind of. Yes and no. I mean, I think that there's always going to be a huge amount of people out there that are not going to do the work, right? But I think in 2020, if you're struggling with something, and if you don't access the internet, that's on you. That's on you. I mean, I think you can take apart an engine and put it back together again. I mean, you can like there's so much you can do. I mean, I've looked online to like how to set a mouse trap, because that one freaking, you know, the old school mouse traps that you like, that damn lever wasn't working, you know, it's like, how come it's not working? I went online and like how to set a mouse trap, and I came across a video that had like 15 million views. So it's like, I'm not the only one that's struggling out there with these damn mouse traps, you know? So, and I think it's like, I'm thankful for the person that made that video. which stops a lot of people from making videos because they think they're like, oh, there's enough of these videos out there. I'm like, there's not enough. There's not enough of these videos out there. So everybody needs to be making them.
You can look up everything. I just got a new car. I'm looking up online all the time how to do things with it because it's a Jeep, totally different. It's like I'm looking up all the time. I watch YouTube videos and there's always a video on every single part of that vehicle of what to do, how to do it, everything. The information is out there.
It really is. It really is.
You've kind of like become, I would say, like one of the big people out there who's almost combating purely positive training in a sense.
Combating or
meaning speaking out against it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And well, that's the way I see it. That's like your main goal. I think you correct me if I'm wrong. I think your main goal is helping owners, right?
Right.
And I see that clearly. But I think in a part of that, you've come out in a way of trying to educate people on why that's not working and why there has to be another way. Would that be correct?
Well, so we food train dogs. We clicker train and we use markers. So I really am trying to just get people. I think what I'm trying to do, I know what I'm trying to do, is I want people to start thinking. And it's just like, guys and gals, it's sorry to offend anybody with that guy statement. So, I think that I want people to understand the difference between training a wanted behavior, which we use a reward-based system, all right, and stopping an unwanted behavior, which we use, call it, applying a punisher or a correction, intolerable consequence, call it what you want. And I think it's important that people understand the difference. And I think that once you start, I think people are becoming more wise to that. So I think the only thing that bothers me, there's a couple things that bothers me, is the unethical part of dog training, where some segments of the industry are preaching one thing, and then the other thing is the worst thing you can do, but they're going home and they're doing that worst thing. I know many, many, many dog trainers who talk bad about remote collars who have remote collars on their dogs. Many.
Like people who consider themselves purely positive trainers?
Yeah, I hate to put titles on it, but yes.
Right.
Yes. So it's like, so it's okay for you and your dog at home, but you're preaching, on a big, huge banner, in your training center not to do it. Meanwhile, your client is struggling, but you're going to go home and do what you say not to do. So there's that. And then I get really concerned when an owner spends months and months and months and months doing protocols that just are not going to work. And a lot of the times the trainer knows they're not going to work, instead of saying, you know what, maybe you should go try this instead, even if they don't do it. So I don't do agility. I don't do bite work. I don't even know how to teach a dog how to catch a Frisbee. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's not what I do. I don't know how to do task training, service dog training. I can do public access, but I can't do tasks. So why would I take on a client and accept their money to do task training? That would be unethical.
Right.
So I would send them to somebody that knows task training, or at a minimum, send them to the internet to learn how to do that. So I think I definitely speak up a lot about that. I definitely get a lot of, do you allow swearing on your show?
I allow anything besides politics.
Okay. So I'll refrain from I'll refrain from F-bombs, but I get a lot of shit, I think, for just being blunt. You know what I mean? I think that's a big turnoff to a lot of people. I mean, I've become an easy guy to hate, and I recognize that. But I'm also, the way I look at it is, I'm not going to let cancel culture stop me. Like, I'm not going to let that stop me, because I know how it works, and I'm not going to let it stop me. Because I think if more people stood up to it, because that's exactly what it is cancel culture.
Yep.
If they stood up to it, what'll happen is things will start like shifting.
You mean in general, not just dog training?
Oh yeah, we can talk about anything in the world here, but we'll focus on dog training now, because dogs are dying. Because dogs are dying. Not only are dogs dying, but owners are left struggling with no answers, and then also they're paying for something that they'll never resolve. Instead of just someone saying, that's out of my skill set, or nope, we don't do that. It's like Like, don't hire me to pee pad train your dog. Like, that's like, no, that's not what I do. That's not what I do. Don't hire me for a lot of different things. So you want your dog to stop an unwanted behavior? I'll help you out with that. And at the seminars, you don't have time to think. You've got 20 or 30 dogs there, and half of them want to take your face off, and you're like, okay, let's stop this right now. So does it stop in a weekend? Obviously, no dog is quote unquote fixed, but we stop the behavior, and then we give the owners a lot of guidance. But I think when you stand up to the crowd, when you stand up to the masses, when you push back, people don't like that. People don't like that.
So you're talking about standing up to cancel culture, the masses, the crowds. So I think you're talking about dog trainers, right? Or are you talking to dog owners also?
No, I think we can separate it out. I mean, I think dog trainers in general need to start realizing that, number one, they could be next. You know what I mean? I think they need to really realize that. I think if you're a dog trainer, and I find it very unprofessional to jump on the I hate insert name of dog trainer bandwagon.
Yeah.
I think it's very unprofessional for them to do that. I think the general public sees it, and I think the general public, it's a turnoff. And also, you might be next. So I think they have to realize that. And then somebody gives you like a 1-star review and you start crying like a baby. Meanwhile, how'd you like to be on the front page of the Scottish newspaper being called a dog abuser? It's like, no. It's like, I'll give you cancel culture to the max. You know what I mean? So, it's a kind of thing where dog trainers need to be very careful about being negative and hateful and gossipy and like, people have to realize there's no such thing as private messaging anymore. It's not private.
Screenshot everything.
Everything is screenshotted. There's no such thing as private groups. Like, trust me, I have seen it all. Like, I've seen it all. Everything from these private groups, I've seen the screenshots, and it's like, that's okay, because it's not on me. It's not on me. It's on the people that write that. That's their issue. Your perception of me has got nothing to do with me. It just doesn't. At the end of the day, I sleep very well. Actually, now I don't that much because of the freaking.
You don't sleep at all. You're up at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Well, wait until I videotape tonight's sleeping session or supposed sleeping session, because we just got another dog in with 10 bites and massive separation anxiety, and it's trying to destroy everything. So there's obviously the standard operating procedure is you put a video camera on the dog, and you got a remote collar on the dog overnight. And you're like usually the first 1, 2, 3 nights, it's like, we got to get past this. Because if you don't, you've got, weeks and weeks and weeks of, nonsense. And also it can hurt itself. And then also it's disruptive, to the rest of the dogs. And also that's also the job. Like, that's what you're being paid for. You're being paid for a service. So,
I sleep with one next to my bed these days.
Tonight, I'm going to have 2 tonight because we got them in 2 different areas of the kennel. I'm like, damn it, why couldn't we put them next to each other so I could just have one video camera on them? So I'm going to have 2. I've got 2 monitors. They're both of them are, one is in each in 2 different rooms of the training center. And I ever since COVID started, I started staying at the training center. Number one, to help out more. Also, at the very beginning, I struggled going back and forth just for my family safety.
Right.
I'm like, and then now that's passed, but now that I'm knee deep into the daily training and the overnights, like, we really want to keep the kennels, like pin drop quiet overnight, which we do, and we have people that stay here as well. So go ahead.
Back to the whole cancel culture thing, all of that stuff. Why do you think that you've become like the target? Because there are other people out there doing the same thing as you. Like, you're not the only one that. You're great at what you do, but you're not the only one doing what you do. You know what I mean? Like, why are you the target?
There's only so many ways when a dog is lunging at your face to stop it. Let's come on, guys. Let's be honest. Like, you've got a dog lunging at your face. Like, there's only so many things you can do to both stop it and not get bit. and they all sort of fall into the same category. You know what I mean? It's like self-preservation and a correction all at once. And I assure you, it's not a gentle one. I mean, it's like, these dogs are trying to harm you with no remorse. So I think, a good example is the bonker. Like, that's a great example. And whether you agree with it or not is not even relevant to the point of realizing that there are probably, I probably know of 100 dog trainers by name, and I've never named a name, nor will I ever name a name. I've never named a name on any of my shows, nor will I ever. I named one male TV star, but that's like a public figure. And all that was like, the comment was, not if they're good or bad, was that they've helped open up discussion and dialogue about that humans actually have something to do with their dog's behavior. Like, but other than that, like, I don't talk about other dog trainers, even privately. Like, I got better things to do. We got a lot of dogs to work here, and I got mental time that I need to put towards expanding my business. I don't really care what other people are doing. So, I think that we've got to be really careful about. So that we got the bonker, which I know of at least 100 people personally that use it, and then there's got to be hundreds more that do use it, and then there's thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of consumers, not only just throwing a rolled up towel, but throwing all kinds of shit at their dogs. Yeah. Come on, like, we've all thrown stuff at it, like my dog's barking at the door. Like, let me look around for something to grab. You know what I mean? It's like, just name it. You know what I mean? It's a shoe. It's a set of keys. It's hopefully nothing breakable, because, hopefully not your grandmother's nice china, so anything like that, holy shit,
everyone grew up, like, not my generation, but probably your generation, like a rolled up newspaper, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the thing? Like,
yeah. I think there was a lot of differences back then. Number one,
but I'm just saying that was like, a natural thing to think of was, if we're doing something we don't want, let's make it stop. Like, whether there was the right way to do it or not, let's make it stop.
Correct. And so what's happened since then, in the last 30 years, is people have been convinced that will ruin the relationship with the dog, and then that's abuse. Yep. And number one, it doesn't ruin the relationship with the dog. What ruins the relationship with the dog is you giving up the dog, and now you have no relationship. And that's sure as heck isn't abuse, because I've seen abuse, and it's not pretty at all. And it's not methodical like the bonker, which has literally a step-by-step protocol on how to market and deploy it, and then help the dog recover from it. It's literally step by step. So it's like that with any applied punisher. So I think, because I speak out so much about the tools, I think it's important also to put things into context. Like, my seminar series is called a problem-solving seminar. Well, what do you think we do over the weekend? Solve problems. We don't. And then my podcast, What Would Jeff Do, is geared towards, all you have to do is read everybody's comments, because I don't have anything prepared. It's just like everybody's comments, and it's like, how do I stop? How do I stop? How do I stop? How do I stop? I'm like, well, what do you think I'm going to talk about all 1 hour long? And then you get people that'll always take things out of context, and they'll re-edit videos, and they'll put them up, and it's like, okay, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but it's like, you do realize that humans are struggling out there. So that's what bothers me the most, is I think that humans can't get good answers. And it doesn't mean I know everything. I know far from everything. Like, if I know 5%, that's like probably pushing it. You know what I mean? So, but I'm able to stop behaviors and train wanted behaviors and help rehab the dog, and help. The biggest thing is help the owners like duplicate what we do, because they're owners. They that's not what they do. They've only worked with maybe one dog or 6 dogs, not thousands of dogs.
As someone who gets called a dog abuser all the time, everywhere, publicly, right?
Yeah.
What is the line between abuse and punishment? How do you describe the difference? Because I think that so many people do mix it up, and there has to be a clear line in that to understand like what actually does become abuse.
Well, I mean, abuse could be, I mean, technically overfeeding your dog and having a fat dog is abuse.
Right.
So technically not stopping an unwanted behavior and the dog bites your child is abuse, you know.
To the child, though.
To the child, but also to the dog, because the outcome of the dog is going to possibly be death, you know, or surrender to a shelter. So, and we can talk all day long about which is better, which is worse, you know. Death is permanent and it's pretty bad, you know. I think if you come home from work every day and kicked your dog, that's probably bordering on abuse. You know what I mean? If you know, a lot of times people, they might not understand that, like, we're not using any emotion in a protocol where we want to stop a behavior. It's just matter of fact. It's a marker word such as no, which is what we use, and then you apply whatever the protocol is, and that's one thing I think is you're not being emotional about it, which doesn't mean you can still abuse a dog by being unemotional, cold, and uncaring. But I think if you do a protocol that has been thought out, practiced, proven thousands of times with a level of expectation that always works out historically in the 99 percentile with the results that you want, that's not abuse. That's not abuse.
It would be really that there's a clear purpose to it that you know is going to work.
There's always a clear purpose to everything we do. Everything we do.
I'm saying, because I think that for the general public, right? Let's say there's an owner struggling and they're like, yes, we know we have to punish our dog, but where do I draw that line? What is considered abuse? What is considered punishment?
Or how do we do it?
Right.
Like that's, I mean, I think the word, and I use the word punishment freely, but you can call it a correction, call it what you want, but the bottom line is it sure as heck isn't a reward. You know what I mean? So it's like, so call it the word you want, you know, and I don't talk science because I don't need to, because I'm talking, I don't want to talk sciencey stuff to clients. You know, it's like they don't want to hear that either. It's, this stuff is confusing enough. Let's not confuse it anymore. Let's do more common sense dog training. So I think that owners need the guidance. They're like, we know what we're supposed to do, but we just need help doing it. I mean, that's why they come to the seminars. They're like, please show us how to do it. I've got this remote collar. I'm all in. I just need some guidance on this. And I mean, heck, a clicker could be used wrong. Food can be used wrong. Like your whole, the timing of your markers can be used wrong. You know what I mean? So, you know, I just think that there's not as much abuse as people think there are.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
And I'm not going to discount the fact that dogs are absolutely abused. I won't discount that. But it's not as big as you think. It's not as big as you think. And, you know, if someone is doing that, I mean, for instance, Florida. I remember when they were trying to pass all these laws. There was 2 people on the animal abuse registry. So if you've got all these,
sorry, which laws are you referencing? About
like certain tools being abusive. Okay. So if it's like, if you've got a huge problem down in, say, this one Florida city, I think it was Hillsborough, then why are there only 2 people on the registry? Like, where's this rampant abuse? Where is it? It's just, you know, it's imagined harm. It's not existing. So I think we have to be really careful about that. And then we also have to be careful about whenever you apply any training technique, like if the dog tries to bite you and then you stop it immediately, or you stop it mid-flight, or you can tell the dog is loading and it's about to, because that's actually how a punisher should be used, is at the first sign of it, not while the dog is doing it, because you could send the dog farther into it. And when you get some of these drivey dogs, they love it. They're like, thanks for that added fuel.
Yeah, thanks them up.
Thanks for that adrenaline shot. I'm going in harder. So I think, you know, we have to be careful about now looking at our dogs going, oh, but now the dog looks scared. I'm like, well, I mean, that dog biting that child looked pretty scared to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I had to pick the two, I'd rather have the dog scared in the moment and the child not bit. Because then I got time, even if the dog was scared, we've got time to counter condition that into like some wonderful stuff. So I think we have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about, I think, I can't tell you how many times, like, we put up a video of Dexter, that Malinois, it's 8 months old, that was crotch punching the owner and loves to go for bites anything that moves. And Angelo, who is 7, bouncing a ball next to it. And we have safety protocols obviously in place. But it's like, you can see the dog, and I pointed out, the dog is shaking, the dog is nervous. But this is a dog that literally was trying so hard, not because it was afraid of getting corrected, but it's trying so hard to do the right thing that it's going to be a little bit concerned, nervous, and it's going to outwardly show it. But the alternative, number one, we're not done with the product yet.
Right.
If you want to call a finished dog a product, I mean, I guess we're technically never done, right? So, but to take a dog that its first instinct was to literally attack you and bite you, to now lie down on a bed, maybe not looking all that comfortable, but for a child to be bouncing a ball next to it, that's progress. And I think it gets turned around like, oh, the dog's afraid it's going to get corrected. I'm like, well, let's say it was. Okay.
Right. And it's not doing the behavior now that it used to be damaging.
I'll take that week 1, 2, 3 into a board. I'll take it.
Right.
If that's what it takes for you not to bite a child, a little bit of fear, I'll take it. Like, I don't want you walking around in fear, but if that's what keeps you from attacking that child or attacking that dog or biting me, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it'll all hopefully balance out in the end. And I think since we show so much of the messy middle, again, that opens, like, we can easily show, like, I don't think that there's only video of my Malinois, Tex, playing. I don't think there's any obedience videos of him.
Right.
Because
yours.
It'll look, number one, it's my dog, but it'll look really good. And I think that's almost a disservice to my clients. It's saying your genetically unsound dog that you've got this horrific pattern relationship with is going to look like this dog at the end of a board and train. It's unethical. So I think the transparency is important. And I think we like to show our messy middle, again, because we're so human-centric. We're not trying to impress dog trainers. We know that a lot of owners are not geographically close to us. We know they might not be economically able to afford us, so we put out so much free content. But we want them to know that during the process of the rehab, because you are doing rehab, there is a difference between obedience work and rehab.
Yeah,
I feel that way. I mean, obedience is training what you want, and rehab is like alcohol and drug addiction, and it's not pretty. So I think it's important that they see the dog and then they go, oh, you're right. When I stopped that behavior for my dog, which was driving me nuts, and I might have had to given it up if I couldn't, now we see it a little bit nervous. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's like, yeah, you really think it's going to go from horrific to fantastic without anything in the middle?
Yeah, the way I look at the whole a lot of bad behaviors, not all. Obviously, there are dogs that just like love to bite, and they're just, that's just what they do. But I think the average serious behavioral issues, a lot of them are ways of the dog's coping with some sort of craziness, right?
Absolutely.
And if you take away a coping mechanism, you're going to be stressed. Like, there's no other option. It's a stressful situation, especially when it's taken away immediately, because something like biting people has to be taken away, right? And when you take it away immediately, that's like this dog's way of dealing with all of that stress, anxiety, fear, whatever it is. Of course, all you're going to see is the stressed out dog. You're not going to see a confident dog under a dog that bit because it was afraid of the world.
Right. It's a great point. And I think, it's like, I remember I gave up alcohol 30 years ago, and my go-to was I always would take the bus up to Boston, Massachusetts, which is only a 45-minute ride up. and I would take the bus up just so I didn't have to drive back. You know, I was responsible getting plastered. So I'd go up there, and then I would take the bus back. And I remember after I stopped drinking like 30 something years ago, I went to Boston, Massachusetts, like a lot of things to do in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm like, what a boring freaking city this is.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? But I associated Boston with drinking and partying. I didn't realize the cultural aspects, the museums, the architecture, the cobblestone streets, the history, the beautiful sights, sounds, and smells, the restaurants. I didn't realize all of that. So just like you said, when you stop something immediately, then you all of a sudden go to like, this sucks. It's like, actually, no, it doesn't suck. Your mindset is skewed towards just one thing. And I think that's the power of a properly timed correction, that you actually can stop an unwanted behavior. But that also gets turned around a lot. Like, doing it fast doesn't make it better. I'm like, well, let's put that into a little bit of context. Like, it's like, don't you want your dog to stop biting fast? Like, don't you want your dog to stop jumping on grandma fast? Don't you want your dog to stop getting out of that crate fast? Like, yes. Like, there are some things that you want fast. I mean, teaching a dog like a multi, a behavioral, protocol, no, that takes time. But, for anybody to think, a common cut and paste response is like, you use remote collars because you're lazy. It's like, okay, here's a remote collar. Show me how to train, a downstay. And then show me how to do duration work. And then show me how to do it at a distance. And then show me how to do it around distractions. Yeah. And that's like saying food. It's like, give me a handful of food. I still got to know how to train the dog. Like, do you really think if I put food in my hand and I said down, my dog is going to down?
Right. They don't magically know it.
They don't know it. You still got to, whether you're using luring or you're doing free shaping or you're doing a combination of leash pressure and food, like, you still got to know what you're doing, So I think what is a remote collar good for fast? For stopping some dangerous stuff like jumping on counters, which is really dangerous to dogs. They could die or get something impacted and it'll cost you a lot of money. To nuisance barking, to digging, to, yes, that is fast. Absolutely. As well as distance, as well as through walls, So yes, it's highly effective for that. I think there just needs to be a little bit more of an honest conversation out there about like, where we are. So
what do you think is the push behind, like you brought up before, like laws against collars and different types of tools? And what is the push behind that? What if everything we're saying is true, which we know it's true, and we do it, it works.
Well, right? we think it's true, right?
Right. Well, I'm saying you have a ton of dogs to show for it. I have some dogs to show for it, and like it works.
You're doing good. Yeah.
And what is the push behind making these things illegal, punishing people who punish their dogs, taking away all of that? What's behind that whole movement that it's so powerful and so strong?
I think it's an easy story to sell. I think it's a bunch of people that are well organized and loud, and it's an easy story to sell. And what do you how do you defend you're a dog abuser? How do you defend that? No, I'm not. Like, I mean, it's like, how do you defend something like that? I think what's happening is a lot of folks are living in a world where dogs can do no wrong. And maybe the dogs that they've been around can do no wrong, but you have to think a little bit deeper than that. And you do realize your experience with either your personal dog or your group of dogs does not necessarily represent someone else's experience with their dog or dogs that they know. Right. And knowing that there are, just like there's different people and different needs. Like, here's a great example. I do not, nor have I ever used a wheelchair. There's no way I can relate to that other than, yes, I believe that someone in a wheelchair should have access to, all the buildings and, any of the ADA compliant stuff. But I don't know what it's like. How would I know? How would I know other than like spending the day in a wheelchair, which some people do, which I think is great. You have a lot more appreciation. It's like I've done ride-alongs with police officers. It's like that changes your viewpoint on police officers, on community policing. It's like, holy shit, like, well, how have you not gone crazy yet? So, I think we have to be very careful though about banning tools, because I think if people think we're being forceful now, if you start banning tools and you've got badly behaved dogs that need to be stopped, you're going to start seeing a lot more actual force being used. What they call old school. Either that or the dog dies. I think we have to be very careful about, banning, outlawing breeds and outlawing tools and outlawing. I mean, I even spoke up about how outlawing greyhound racing was bad. And obviously a lot of people feel differently about that. But I'm like, be careful what you vote for, because your sport of choice is next. So it's like.
But my question really is, I think, a little deeper. What's the agenda? Like, there seems to be, from someone watching it all happen, and like I'm in it in a sense, right? What is the agenda behind it? Like, stopping one thing after another after another. There must be something more to it besides just like, this is a great story.
Well, I think you got to follow the money, not to be cliche, but I think you also have to come to realize that the social justice warriors have infiltrated the dog training. And this is not to be like, 9/11 didn't really happen. It's like, Jeffrey Epstein is still alive. You
have to throw that one in every time.
which he is actually, because the ear looks different, So I think we have to realize that, like, who's behind all of this hate, who's organizing it, who lit the match, who lit the match that started the fire. And I think if people do the research and follow the money, you're going to start seeing where it's based on, and it's usually based on groups that actually don't possibly want families to own dogs. They don't want the domestication of animals. And then becomes an easy train to jump on. I think we live in a society now where it's becoming very convenient to, put hate out there, and people are really struggling putting empathy and love out there. And I'm trying to change that, as angry as I sound, because I'm just
not mad. I'm passionate.
I'm not mad. I'm passionate. And it's because I'm really trying to get people to possibly wake up to realize that your rights are being taken away. And when will it end? I mean, I'm predicting that dog sports will be non-existent in the next 10 years in the United States. Wow. And a lot of people will say, oh, never. And I remember watching a documentary on the cell phone I got my first cell phone in 1983. And I remember watching the documentary, so it was pre that. And they're like, pretty soon you'll be able to have a cell phone that like fits in your pocket or whatever. And I'm like, no way. I think we forget about how things do evolve. And I think when you start passing laws and then you put these things in place, we have to be very, very, very careful. And I think the dog sport that started, whether you agree with greyhound racing or not, that's not the point. The point is, read the law, look at the fine print. It's on the books. The writing is there. It's going to start spreading. And I think we have to, I think people spreading hate and using dogs as the Trojan horse is very dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. I think the Trojan horse is the dog, and hate comes out of that. And then I think we have to be very, very careful where we go with that. And we have laws on the books. where if you actually do think someone is abusing a dog, there are laws on the books. There are people that you can call. There are people that will respond. There are people that will investigate. There are people that will hold people accountable. That's already in place. We don't need to put more on the books. And then people have to remember, for every new law that's enacted, you have to always factor in the budget of enforcement behind it. So who's going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for the extra oversight? The judges, the extra judge time. Are they going to arrest people? Well, who's going to pay for the officers? Who's going to pay for, do we have enough jails? Are we going to start jailing people for using these tools? Are we going to, I think we have to be really, really careful. And I believe so strongly that most people are good. I really do. Deep down in my heart, I think most people are good and most people want to do the right thing. I think people are afraid to speak out right now because they're so easily shut down by a certain group of, not anybody in particular, but just like the mob mentality. Some people don't even know what they're arguing about. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh,
what you do.
They're screaming people. Let me scream too. It's like, do you even know? It's like signing a petition. Like, did you even read it?
Yep.
Like, did you even read the petition? Yeah. It's like, oh, a petition? Sure. But it's like, whoa, you didn't even read past the headline.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even pass the headline. So, it's like there's a lot of clickbait out there, not just virtual clickbait. There's, clickbait in life. So
my feeling on the whole making a change with the dog training topic and this whole divide and the controversy and all this stuff is, I honestly don't think that it's going to come down to dog trainers, because I think that dog trainers can scream and yell all day about it, and it doesn't matter. You're still the dog abuser, right? And I think that the masses of owners who are out there, right? Yeah. The thousands and thousands, I don't even know.
Hundreds of thousands of owners who start speaking up. Yeah.
Who use tools, who punish their dogs, who use balanced training, who know that this is what helped and changed their lives.
Yeah.
Imagine what would happen if they all came out with their stories to the public. Yes. And if it trickled, then a couple of them would get hate and they'd shut down. But if everyone decided this is what we're doing, like we all believe in this and we are going to put our stories out there because we want dogs to survive in homes for the same reason that we did this with our dog, I think that's what would be a massive tidal wave in the whole industry. It would change. People would be forced to talk about it in a different way.
Right. A great example is, like you said, I get a lot of hate, which is fine. I'm really good at dealing with it. And it's like, we know who you like. UK is a hotbed of hate. And I'm in the UK and we know who you are and we hate you and their organizations, what do they call the SPCA, whatever they call it over there, they all hate you. And I'm like, and I usually ban and delete that, but every once in a while I like to, just do a nice polite response. And I said, you do realize that there's 300,000 people in the UK that use remote collars.
Yep.
So you do realize that. And I said, you also realize that many of the board members of these organizations who you are quoting also are using remote collars at home. Because I know the trainers that have trained their dogs, and I know about the non-disclosure agreements that they had to sign. So like you mentioned, dog trainers can argue all day long. Dog owners need to start sharing their success stories about my dog's life was saved because of this. And then they've got to start standing up for their rights. Because you are fighting for your rights. If you want your children and grandchildren to own a dog, which is dogs are wonderful. Owning a dog is a wonderful experience. Then it's time for, I think, people to really start standing up for your rights, and that's where we're at now. Yeah. You're standing up for your rights, or you'll have countries like Sweden where you're not allowed to have a door on a dog crate. And so in theory, yeah, we don't want them locked in a crate, but in reality, the dogs are being killed because now they're just like walking around freely, ingesting things, destroying things, urinating and defecating out of things, breaking out of windows. And so it's like, yes, obviously you can stop a lot of these behaviors, but you also have to realize that people have busy lives. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, people have got like other lives besides dog training. Like, I just want to have a dog, and of course I'll put some structure, and of course I'll spend the time training. But I also, like, I'm working 60 hours a week, and I've got kids and they've got sports, but I should still be able to own a dog. So I think it's important that we realize that. So, you know, the core issue always boils down to humans on everything, right? I mean, we're the ones that, you know, say the hate or say the love.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. You got to go, right? You're cut for time.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's 7:00. I haven't had dinner yet.
Okay.
But
that's it. So one last question, back to dog owners, since that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you wish dog owners all knew across the board that can change the way they raise their dogs, what would you think? What would that be?
And I only get one answer, right?
You get one first.
Well, I'd like dog owners to know that when you want to train what your dog want, if you want to train what you want, if you want to train your dog to do something that you want, you use a reward-based system. If you want your dog to stop doing something you don't want, you have to learn to apply call it what you want, a correction, punisher, to stop the unwanted behavior. I want folks to realize that and then go into their journey utilizing like the internet, trainers, whatever, to sort of common sense to figure it out. You know, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, there wasn't that many pet dog trainers out there. People were doing just fine without you or I. You know.
Yeah.
So
it's really, I think, what it boils down to, right? Yes and no. And so many people know the yes.
It's simpler than you think. Well, obviously, you have to figure out motivation, and then there are some dogs on the fringes, and there's, you know, there are some tweaks to it, and there's time. I mean, yeah, I mean, there is, you know, but that's in a nutshell. Yes and no.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on, Jeff. I appreciate everybody who was hanging out, watching. You guys are awesome. We love you all. Jeff, love you, man. It was really awesome.
Yeah, love you too. Love you too. And I'm really proud of you, Russ. I mean, just stop with that negative self-talk, buddy.
All right. Done.
Okay? Stop it. All right. All right, man. All right.
I appreciate you for coming on. Have a good night.
My pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye.